Brad, I've been thinking a lot about our future and how we've talked about in the past how at some point when our kids are out of the house, you and I would love to rent an RV, a recreational vehicle, and drive across the United States. You know, it's 3,000 miles to drive from Philadelphia to Los Angeles, or Los Angeles to Philadelphia, or to go around the country. It's even more thousands of miles.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, we'll do this thing where we'll drive around, a couple of boxes of books in the RV. We'll stop and do signings. Maybe we'll give public comic lab talks and do that kind of thing. Wouldn't that be fun? All great. But I had a thought the other day, Brad, that in your 20s, you're sort of willing to put up with stuff. Like you're willing to sleep in a bad place. You're willing to eat bad food. You're willing to have your back hurt. You're willing to do I don't know. I'm a little worried, Brad, that in our 50s, you and I in an RV, I'm a little worried that we might just come to hate every little thing about one another after a week together in a car. You know,
it could be a friendship ending trip. We could end up being kind of like planes, trains, and automobiles, where these two just get more and more on each other's nerves. The more they go, the more they're just outraging each other.
And so like I'm realizing as I get older that I'm getting more curmudgeonly and I'm pushing more and more of the world away because I'm just like, I'm done with this. I just can't deal with this stupid idiot or whoever it is, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I do have a tiny fear that if we do this RV trip, I'll push away one of the last people that I genuinely like, you know?
One of the last people you can put up with.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess this is me saying, like, I'm having doubts, Brad, about our RV trip, our eventual, so far unplanned RV trip. Like, is it a bad idea? I don't know.
I don't know. Although I can confirm that curmudgeonliness comes with age, and it's coming for us all. And there just comes to a point where you're just like, I don't want this anymore. I don't, not necessarily I don't want it, but I don't need this. I don't need to work so hard for this. I've got a certain number. Here's the other side of that. At 20, you want all the friends you can get. I want a lot of friends at 20. Everybody's got to be my friend. Be my friend. Be my friend. At 50, you're looking to get rid of a few of these people.
Yeah, you wish you could take a few off the phone.
Yeah,
you're like,
you're like, you know what? Or you just like your neighbor comes up, hey, how's it going? You're like, Christ, I'm doing fine. Just leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. You know, I just and what a wonderful thing to have a nice neighbor, you know, that walks up and greets you, and it's just like, I don't want any of this.
I just leave me alone. So this is me saying out loud, like, we might be unnecessarily stepping on a landmine on our friendship if we do this RV trip where it all just blows up in our face. I don't know. So on that note, I'm going to say hello, everybody, and welcome to a show about friendship and making comics.
And ending those friendships and making a living from comics. I'm Brad Geiger, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil, Inc.
And I'm his pal Dave, or at least so far, I'm his pal Dave Kellett, cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon, and co-director of the comics documentary Stripped.
Well, we'll see if you're still a friend at the end of this 60 hours of comics advice, or 60 minutes of comics advice, made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend, and we've got a big show for everybody. But before everybody gets settled in for the show, I want to tell you, we probably are going to do this RV trip. How many times in life do you get to drive across the country with your pal Brad Geiger, sitting there telling you how to drive, sitting there telling you that you're cooking the hot dogs wrong, sitting there telling you that you snored the night before?
Oh, no, that's going to go the other way. I guarantee you that. But it's going to be, what we can do is we can break it down into smaller chunks, you know, and build in, I think we owe it to ourselves to build in like after every maybe 3 or 4 days, instead of the RV, maybe each of us gets our own hotel room so we can be like alone for 8 or 10 hours. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, I do know what you mean. Like, I just need to be alone with my own thoughts.
I just need to I just need to, or not, not worry about, am I doing something that is impolite, or just sometimes you just want to be alone where you can scratch where it itches. You know?
So, gang, yes, that does mean that Brad just wants to pat around in a hotel room in his tighty whities for 8 hours and be left the hell alone.
Yes.
And I get it.
Yes.
As a fellow 50-year-old, I get it. So, Brad, we've got a couple updates before we jump into the show, and I'm going to jump into one of them just for funsies because I want to get this out of the way.
I can tell this is eating at you.
Oh, it's eating at me. So longtime listeners will know that Brad and I got a pro tip from a wonderful company. We don't need to throw them under the bus, but they said, hey, you've got to get your books on Amazon Direct Publishing and Kindle Direct Publishing, which is short for KDP.
Yeah.
And so Brad and I jumped through a bunch of hoops and prepped our books and got a bunch of the files prepped and did all the sort of back of site data entry for our companies onto Amazon.
Yes.
We got it all up there. We were so excited. Couldn't wait for that first month report. And Brad, how many tens of thousands of dollars would you say you made that first report from KDP?
I made tens of hundreds of cents, maybe at best, after the first year. Like there was not a lot of money in that.
Yes, and so last week, Brad, or 2 weeks ago, I took my physical books off of Amazon Advantage, which is a different Amazon program, right? They are ostensibly linked, but not really. We never found out a good way to link them between the two.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I never have either.
Yeah, so my physical books are now down off of Kickstarter. Well, today, Brad, just as a fun update for everybody involved that's named Dave Kellett, KDP sent me an email out of nowhere saying, because you have broken our terms of service, you are now permanently kicked off the KDP website and platform. And Brad, I don't know what to make of it.
What did you do that broke their terms of service?
So I've gone back to them over the course of 3 emails. Let's just see if they. Oh wait, they just responded.
Oh, let's do. Good Lord, I think your phone is spying on you.
I know. So it says, hello. Due to content guidelines violations relating to your account, we are removing all the titles you have uploaded through this account from sale on Amazon, and we will not be reinstating your account. You're no longer eligible to receive any outstanding royalties of 1.5 cents from Japan or Europe or Australia. Additionally, as per our terms and conditions, you are not permitted to open new accounts and will not receive. Please be advised that this is our final decision and we won't be offering further insight or action on this matter.
Oh my God. What could you now wait a minute. I can see me getting a note like that because of After Dark. I can totally see myself getting this. What in the hell are you doing that could possibly be against Amazon's terms and conditions?
I don't know. So the only attribution here, it says due to content guideline violations.
Yeah.
How do you take that to mean? I mean, I know that KDP has been having a world of trouble with AI submissions of just slop and people selling a book that sounds like Schmeldon or Meevalink. And you're like, well, wait a minute. What is this book? So I get it, but I very clearly own the copyright to this. I've pointed out to all the websites in the 25 years of cartooning. I told them that, like, here's my Wikipedia. You can see I'm an established cartoonist. I'm a real human. I'm a real live human boy. Yeah. And so I don't know, Brad. What do you make of this?
So AI was the first one that came to mind. Right. And of course, my tinfoil hat being slightly askew, it says that this came after the podcast where you said how much you hated Amazon went live to the public. But I couldn't imagine, like, that you're not the first person to stand up in the crowd and say, boy, Amazon's a really, a problematic company. So why would they decide to put the target on your back again, especially as like I can see any number of ways with that they, because even let's take the After Dark out, even some of the language that appears in my comic, I don't have any barriers to language. I'll use a swear word if I think that it's the appropriate word in that sentence and so forth. I could see that, but and they specifically said content guidelines, right? Right. So it's the it's supposedly, ostensibly, it's the content of your book. Not the fact that I could see, like, when you list on Kindle Unlimited, you can't have your book listed anyplace else. Now, if you went against that, then that would give them the right to either shut you down completely or to send you a note saying we're shutting you down until you fix this problem.
All right, between you, between you, me, and the wall, Brad. When the money on KDP proved to be next to nothing. I was like, to hell with this. I'm putting it back up on my Shopify. So the ebooks do exist on my Shopify.
Right.
But I thought that was only a 6-month limitation that you had to have it exclusive to KDP.
So you're conflating two different things. KDP is the umbrella. You can have your stuff up on KDP without having it up on Kindle Unlimited. In other words, Kindle Unlimited is one of the options that you choose under KDP.
I see. Okay, first of all, thank you for clarifying that. I had forgotten that there was both Kindle Unlimited and Kindle Direct Publishing.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, based on this email, they have killed both because my account, when I log in, has you have been terminated.
Oh, my God.
And so I think they got both. So do I think it's possible that Amazon's private-facing AI surveys the web for people shit-facing them and then killing their accounts? No. Just because we've all experimented with AI. It's not that good yet. Yeah. It couldn't make that series of steps. I mean, maybe they could, but I doubt it. The most likely two scenarios are somewhere in their web trawling, they found my Shopify ebooks and they linked it back to my Kindle stuff. That's possible. But I personally feel like somehow me going in and putting the kibosh on my physical books being sold through Amazon triggered some series of algorithmic events. I don't know. It just seems like too convenient that it's only 2 weeks after that.
There is a weird coincidence happening there.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to say to everyone, God, am I so mentally done with this company? Because Amazon Advantage was just a series of annoyances where I actually lost money, if people remember. I don't know if we talked about that on ProTips or on the main show. But
we talked about it on the main show.
I ended up losing money, as folks remember. And Kindle Direct Publishing and Kindle Unlimited both were pennies on the dollar at best for all the work that we put into it. So I'm just done with it. And Brad, go with God. I know I advise you to stay up with it if you haven't been kicked off. You might as well make the pennies that you put into it in terms of over time, it'll pay itself back. But good God, I'm not going to fight this because I don't care. I really don't care.
Well, that's the thing. That's where there's this is a no pain kind of situation that we can laugh about, because it's not like, a major platform said, we're shutting you down. Right. And you're like, oh, gosh, I've got to really scramble and reconfigure my business.
Right. It's not like eBay has kicked me off. And eBay, for those that remember, is worth about $5,000 to $8,000 worth of income for me a year. Enough where it would have been painful, you know, where I would have been like, oh, dang, I really liked eBay. But this was literally $50, $100, $150 a year at tops. Tops.
And you were going in the hole by the time you counted up all the money that you had spent. Oh, no, I mean the
purely digital stuff. But yes, Advantage, was definitely going in the hole. All of which to say, yes, we can laugh about it, but really, what the hell is going on? How would a company that is reliant on Amazon handle this? Because I didn't get a clear answer as to why I was kicked off. They didn't give me hey, this is the subparagraph that you violated. Yeah. Which seems doable.
Except they don't have people that work there.
I'm not even sure I was interacting with a person, by the way.
No, it's like if you could get through to a person, you could reason with that person, but those people don't exist, because then you'd have to pay those people and give them benefits and stuff. Right. So they handle as much of that with an algorithm or with an AI as possible. And this was just something flashed. You got put in a category. That category got determined by an AI. You got put into another slot, and now you're arguing with an AI that has no idea what you're doing, and at the end of the day, no idea what you're talking about. It's just this person did this. They got categorized this way. There's no reasoning it out. And if you could ever talk to a person, you could get it straightened out. But that person doesn't exist.
They don't exist because there's no way that Amazon will. In some level, the reason why I wanted to lead the show with this was just because I got the vinegar in my blood about it. Yeah. But also because it is a little bit of a bummer of the world we're heading towards, where AI could conceivably make the decision, respond to all your critiques of the decision, and then shut it down in a way that you never were able to voice it to a human. And God, it's a little bit terrifying in the sense that if I cared about KDP, this would be both terrifying and a bummer. I mean, we're laughing about it, but imagine, Brad, if this was my Social Security check if I was 65, or imagine if it was a medical review by an insurer. You know, I could see all of this AI stepping in.
I guarantee that's already happening. You and I were Generation X, and all through growing up, the sci-fi stories were the robots take over the world, right?
Yeah.
We are literally living in that right now. We're way down that line where these decisions are being made by software, and you have very little recourse. This is just the tip of the iceberg, my friend.
I know. Anyway, so that's the end of the update for me, Brad. I just wanted to get it out of my system because I got so much piss and vinegar about it.
It's too good to pass up. Since you brought up eBay, we've got another update. You want to just address that since you've got a clear transition into that? You said you do a lot of business through eBay, and we had gotten some, at least 2, maybe 3 people who listened to your remarks about cutting back on international shipping, and they had some advice for you, some of which I'm going to read right now. I just picked up one of them. So
just for those that are coming in late on the conversation, the reason why I cut off international shipping and Brad cut off international shipping was the costs were getting too high, but that was swallowable if it was just that. We would have kept doing it because if people want to pay it, then fine, we'll ship it. But it was also that for reasons that Brad and I couldn't control, some packages got a tariff hit when they landed in France. Some got a tariff hit when they landed in Germany, and there was no predicting it. And we couldn't help prepare our readers for that. And then thirdly, there was a bunch of paperwork, especially for like Brexit. And we were like, we don't know and can't figure this out. So we just said, shine it. And we don't ship internationally before. And then, Brad, after that show aired, we got a couple of really kind emails.
Yeah. From a lot of different places, too. Like some of them came in through Patreon. Some of them came in through Spotify. And I just picked one. This comes in from Charlie Kirchhoff, who says, for international shipping options, I like eBay's program. If an international customer buys an item, you just ship it to an eBay location and they take care of the rest. So from the seller's perspective, it's no different from selling to a domestic customer.
So first of all, Charlie, and to everyone that wrote in, thank you. Because one of the things we like about this show is when we can be a clearinghouse for best practices or things that we did not know existed. And I will be honest, Charlie, and everybody else, your old pal Dave Killett had no idea that this existed. I mean, Brad, had you ever heard of this?
No,
that eBay would cover the international shipping and hassle?
Not at all. Not at all.
What a service if this can be made to work for us. So the short version, gang, is that we haven't done our own research, man. We haven't done our research on this. We haven't tried it. But the fact that 4 different people emailed us about this and said, hey, you should be aware that this exists and it's usable. We're going to follow up in future shows, and we're going to tell you how it worked out.
Absolutely. So, Dave, it's time for us to get into the questions that have been sent in through patreon.com/comiclab. And the first one we're going to talk about, our old friend needs some comics uncle advice. And this is one that I think we've all experienced from time to time. This is the question. I've been finding it quite challenging to navigate making comic artist friends, and the local scene seems a bit mean. I am by no means very accomplished. I'm not a pro, but I've been getting bad/jealous vibes from artists roughly around my age. These are people that I would love to have been friends with based on their work, to the extent that maybe I hold back on sharing the little wins I get here and there regarding my art and my comics. So our friend here, Dave, needs a little bit of advice from his comics uncles, specifically in terms of fitting in with large groups of artists, writers, creative people, cartoonists, etc. Fitting into that group, especially when you're a newcomer, from what it sounds like. Do we have any advice for this person?
Yes. And first of all, in sort of a Bill Clinton style, I just want to say I feel your pain because who among us has not said, oh, I feel like I'm the one out of place peg in this room. Like I'm the one person that no one likes. I'm the one person that doesn't seem to fit in, and boy, everybody else seems to be jerks or not nice to me or this or that. We've all felt that. I felt that. I still feel that in my 50s. In fact, this email could be written on week 2 of Dave and Brad's RV trip across America, as I'm like, dear podcast, my friend Brad is being mean to me. I feel like he doesn't like my hot dogs that I'm cooking, and I feel like he's snoring at night to make me mad. This happens at every stage in life. But okay, so let's break this down, Brad. I suppose there's 3 possibilities for what's happening here, right?
Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking along the same lines, and this could be any one of 3 different ways that this could go down. And the good news is, Dave and I have been around for so long, and we've been in the situation so many different times that we could probably, I'm guessing, Dave, you and I probably have personal experience in each of these 3 different ways that this could be happening. And the first that I'm going to take, just because I probably have more experience with this one than anyone else, is one thing that could be happening is that you might be trying too hard when you walk into the room. And boy, oh boy, has that ever been me. I walk into a room and I want all these people to like me, and I want them to like me right now, and I want to be their friend. So of course, what do? I tell them about all the great things there is about Brad Geiger. I did this, I did that, I can do that. I know this and I know that. And it comes across maybe a little bit pushy. In my case, I know with the benefit of perspective, I look back on that and I'm like, these people probably thought I was a big, egotistical, cocky son of a gun, right? All I was trying to do was I just wanted them to like me. And it turns out I was trying too hard.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Brad's a lot. I just want everybody to know that I got him right as he was sipping water with that.
I almost did a Danny Thomas spit take.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm a lot. I mean, here's the thing. Among my bookish friends, I'm the outgoing extrovert that's like, frankly, too much. Yes. You know what I mean? In the room. Around my friends that are TV comedy writers or former SNL people, I'm like the quiet wallflower that's like standing out for being too shy and not jumping into the conversation. So like all of us in our life walk those different worlds where sometimes we're too much, sometimes we're too shy, sometimes we dominate, sometimes we don't talk. Yeah. And like Brad said, sometimes we just want people to like us so much that we're like giving a resume, like a conversational resume that comes across like a wet fart. Like no one wants that, you know? Yeah. And so anyway, I could have described that better, but that's fine. The way I was seeing it, Brad, that there's 3 different possibilities that's happening here. Our question asker is being the unlikable one. The other cartoonists are being the unlikable ones. Or option number 3, both groups are being the unlikable ones, and humans are just tricky to navigate as far as social circles, right?
The only little zhuzh I would give that is that I wouldn't use unlikable so much as I would say either trying too hard or just isn't striking the right notes. You know what I mean?
Right. No, you're right, because the second thing that I wanted to follow up on was in option 3 is that humans are just tricky. That this is going to sound like vibe-ish, but everybody gives off a vibe. And sometimes no matter what you do, you're just not going to vibe with somebody. Like, you know, like Brad and I from pretty early on just understood one another. We were on a same wavelength. We've talked about this in subsequent decades. We had very similar childhoods. Yeah. We had very similar upbringings. We had very similar family situations, senses of humor, things that interested us, good Lord, inabilities with the English language. We had all of that together. And so on a lot of the levels, Brad and I just vibe. We kind of intuit on most occasions what the other one's going to think or say or feel about a situation, right? And so we get excited to share, like, oh, I can't wait to tell you this because you're going to have the same reaction I did. I mean, that's just the nature of friendship. I don't need to describe what a friend is to you. But just on a basic conversational level, like, for example, my wife has an infinitely higher ability to just vibe with a much broader chunk of humanity than I do. She's just great at socializing. She's great at getting to the heart of a conversation, getting people. I mean, like, we've left so many parties where people had hugged and cried to my wife by the end because they felt so close to her and felt like they could unleash. And by the way, no one's unleashing their secrets with Dave Kellett. Everyone's like, well, nice to meet you.
At the time, when the party's ended, the only tears I've ever had is, why are you still here? Tears. You know, like it's time for you to go home. Those are the tears I get. I don't get the other
Brad gets
tears.
Is, hey, the Old Spice is not working. Yeah. That's the only tears Brad gets. No, but I'm throwing myself in that category too. I'm just not. But here's the thing. I'm not saying that I hate myself, and I'm not saying Brad's hating himself. Like, where I think I'm a delight. Brad's a delight.
Yes.
In the right situations.
Yes.
But I know, because I've seen it, I have stepped on my own feet conversationally with new people. I've seen Brad do it where he steps on his own feet. Yeah. And I know him. He's so comfortable in his own skin at his age. Yet I've seen him at cartooning events where he, for whatever reason, got flustered in the moment and the conversation just got off to the bad foot. Yep. He has seen me do it, I'm sure, where I got flustered with this or that cartoonist or this or that reader. Or we've worked enough booths where 99% of the conversations go great, but every once in a while we're just like dab, 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 and it just doesn't go well, you know, like it.
Yeah.
So for a billion reasons, humans can just interact wrong. So I guess the question, Brad, is the question asker wrong here? Are the other cartoonists wrong here? Or are they both wrong here?
No. I mean, listen, so what you just got done describing was what I was categorizing the second option, which is you're just in the wrong room. You're a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. There's probably nothing you can do about that. It's not your group. It's not your people. And I wouldn't say there's nothing you can do about it, but you're going to have an uphill climb fitting into that group, right? And that's because, again, you're just in the wrong room. It ain't the right room for you. My third situation there is that it's actually, there's something out there that actually is acting against you, right? You walk into the room and you might have a big personality, and every group has one or two alphas, you know what I mean? The ringleaders. And
Brad's definitely our alpha in our friendship.
100%.
Yeah.
But the group's alpha might be threatened by you, right? And so you might get pushed back on that. You might get people being mean to you when you walk into the room for any number of reasons, most of which are beyond your control. They just don't like the cut of your jib, as they used to say. You know, they just, whatever it is, they're going to be against you. And that is going to be something that's not impossible to overcome, of course, but it's going to be difficult. So here's the good news, question asker. Someday you'll be 50 years old like Dave and I, and you won't care about what anybody does to you in any room. You'll just, in fact, you'll say, oh, is there a room? I'm going to go someplace else. I don't even want to walk into the room.
I mean, one of the things that is absolutely true about those advertising things that they often point to teens and 20-somethings, it gets better campaigns. Is it does get better because often in life, you just love yourself more as time goes on. And you just eventually say, I'm happy with myself. I like myself. I've found my people. And I don't need the love of everyone, which is kind of, I'm not saying that that's what you feel in your teens and 20s, but you do feel a little bit more. But also that campaign is specifically towards people that are getting harassed and all that sort of stuff. But it also leans on the idea that you will find your people, and they are out there. I'm just going to speak for myself in my 20s, Brad. Mm-hmm. I can remember going to San Diego Comic-Con. In fact, the one that I met you at, probably 1999 or 2000 there. And just wanting the other cartoonists to like me.
So badly.
Even the ones that I didn't necessarily respect. Even the ones that I just wanted them to like me because I just wanted... I had felt out of place for a lot of my life because I was a cartoonist, and I just wanted finally, Brad, I was among cartoonists. Yeah. There was other ones, other nerds like me that just loved to draw and wanted to tell stories and graphic novels and comic books and comic strips. Oh, and couldn't I be their friend? And I'll be honest, that feeling lasted for 10 Comic-Cons or so, where I still, and I could tell you once we turned the microphones off, Brad, who I always wanted to be my friend.
And never
I'm not
was?
Gonna say it. I'm not, and never, they just never wanted to be my friend.
Yeah.
Now looking back on it, I didn't need them to be my friend. Yeah. They weren't the right people for me to be my friend. Right. I don't know why I was focused on them being my friend, or why didn't they like me, and it could have been 1,000 reasons why they didn't like me. And by the way, people often say you can't control what other people think about you. It's none of your business, you know? And that's kind of true. Like, who gives a shit what they thought about me and why? As long as I like myself, that's the important thing. But partially it's because this cartoonist, this question asker, is younger probably and not 100% sure how they feel about themselves. They want the solidity of externalities saying you're still a good person, you're a good artist, you're worthy, you're a kind person, you deserve love. And now in our 50s, we're like, listen, I deserve love. I'm fine. I get it. I like myself. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with my life. But it took a journey of about 30 years to get there, don't you think, Brad? I mean,
well, it's funny. As you're talking, I'm actually remembering some advice that we gave about social media. And specifically, this was around when Blue Sky was just brand new. And a lot of people were like, hey, how do I do Blue Sky? Or this goes for Substack too. How do I do Substack, specifically Substack Notes? And I said, when I approach a new social media platform, I always do 3 things. The first thing I do is the first several weeks when I start a new platform, I don't post a lot. I'm social.
You listen.
I do a lot of listening.
Yeah.
And I pay attention to how other people are talking to other people. And of course, if somebody talks to me, I'm going to talk right back to them, and I'm going to be pleasant, but I'm going to really throttle way back on the first couple of weeks on a social media platform. Then after I see not only how people are posting, but like when they're posting and who they're talking to and how they talk and what the unwritten rules of that platform are. Some words I know that I just do not want to use on Blue Sky. Some types of posts I know I just are gonna flop on Substack Notes. And as I get better and better, now I'm going to start posting a little bit more. I'm going to offer a little bit more myself. Still not going to, I'm going to try to remind myself not to be the big personality that I know I can be, but to just to keep it cool a little bit and be cordial. And again, what we're not talking about is standing in the corner sucking your thumb, right? And you know, trying to avoid people. That's also something your Uncle Brad is really good at. But just starting to post a little bit more. Then you get to the third point, and this is important. You see Dave do this all the time. This is important. Now that you feel like you have a place in this group, whatever that platform is, Blue Sky, Substack, the room that you just walked into, the bar that you walked in for the drink and draw. Now that you're established a little bit, now that you have friends, now that you feel very, very comfortable where you stand, then when that next person walks into the room, now it's your job to help them out a little bit and make their transition.
Pay it forward.
Yeah. Yep. And that's where a lot of the 4 C's of social media comes in. That comes in from kindness and commenting and so on and so forth. So I think a lot of that social media strategy that I shared back then on those episodes have a lot of resonance in the situation this question asker finds themselves in now.
Can I summarize your social media philosophy using the Greek philosopher Epictetus, Brad? One of my favorite quotes of all time. Epictetus said, and I think he said it about 2,500 years ago. I forget when he lived, but he had a quote that said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak."
Yeah.
And I always thought that's a fantastic quote. And really, that's what Brad is saying with social media. Listen twice as much as you speak at first, you know, like get the sense of, and that's true even with social settings. And one of the reasons why my wife gets hugs and tears at the end, she's just a damn good listener. Whereas I kind of don't tolerate people enough to be like, I care enough and want to listen enough to your story. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, that sounds real tough. And then I'm stirring my drink as I'm like walking away. Yep, that sounds horrible. All right, I gotta go.
I've been in a conversation with Dave Kellett. This is my impersonation of Dave Kellett on his side of a conversation. I know. I know. Oh, God, I
know. But I will say this very specifically to this question asker, because the question you asked was specifically about cartoonists. And I will just say this with love for my fellow cartoonists.
Yeah.
We are not the most socially gracious group in the world. You don't draw a lot in your teenage years, your high school years, and your college years if you're dating heavily. You know what I mean? If you're out there socializing a lot. Like aside from Stefan Pastis, maybe Dan Peraro, maybe Brad Geiger, maybe Kathy Geiswhite, I haven't met a ton of cartoonists that socially are really good. And I have met basically everybody in cartooning that I ever wanted to meet aside from Gary Larson at this point. We all were kind of shy. We all were kind of insular. Our social graces were not as polished as maybe the captain of the football team or the captain of the cheerleading squad was, because we were a little bit more keep to ourselves. And that's okay, by the way. That's perfectly fine. You know, I'm very happy with the childhood and the teen years that I had, but I was not as polished as my wife is with her social skills, you know? And so it is, I will say though, that with time and practice, it is worth getting better at. It's one of those skills that you do have to develop. It will help you a lot in life. And it also just helps with your overall sense of empathy to talk to more and many people and to see all the different ways that someone can walk through this life. So you do want to shoot to get better in a Brad Geiger style with your ability to speak with all sorts of people. And Brad's great. I love being next to Brad at a party because he's very good at talking to all sorts of folks. But I suspect, Brad, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, that like me at the age of 16 or 17, you were not so good, right? And probably at the age of 25, you were not so good.
Horrible. I was somebody that tried too hard. I was the one that walked into the room and tried way too hard for everybody to like me, right? Even the people that deep down I knew this is not a good fit for my friendship. You know, I wanted that person to like me too. I had to have everybody liking me. I think that's a very natural thing. And I think that results in a lot of very predictable outcomes, not all of which are positive. So does that mean if you've been in that situation that you're screwed, glued, and tattooed? No, I don't think so.
Wait, what? Screwed, glued, and tattooed? What does that mean?
You've never heard screwed? Oh, that's a common one up in Michigan. You've been screwed, glued, and tattooed. It just means you're up the river without a paddle. You're screwed, glued, and tattooed.
Brad? Who hurt you? Screwed, glued, and tattooed. What does that mean? I need more closure on this. What the fuck does that mean?
Well, I mean, rhetorically, they rhyme, and it's just a clever way of saying that you're up the river.
It's enough of a definition.
That's it. But does that mean that you're up the river without a paddle? No, I think you can walk back into that room and try to gauge which of those three situations that you fit into. And if it was any one of them, there's different things you can do. Let's say that, and this has happened again, but I'll give my own advice. I walked into the room the first time and I was too much. I tried too hard. Well, you walk in the next time, you're a little bit quieter, you're very cordial. You find maybe one person that you think you can really connect with, and you go over, start a conversation with that person. If it goes well, that person becomes your anchor now. That doesn't mean that you're attached at the hip and you glom onto this person for the rest of the day, but that's your anchor. And now you can go out and you can maybe talk to a couple other people, but you've always got your anchor to come back to, right? And again, that also takes a little bit of social consciousness too, because that can get annoying to your anchor who might not want to be your anchor. But that's one of the first ways that I would do it is go out there. And by the way, I've done that. That was me in the playground, taking my kids to school, all the moms and dads would be standing out there waiting for the school bell to ring. I quickly found out that I had one or two people that I knew I could come up and say, how's it going? And they were going to tell me, and we were going to be off to the races on a conversation. That was my anchor. Then when somebody else came up, I was in that much better situation to not maybe say hi to them or spot that new parent on the playground and come over and say, hey, your kid just got here transferred. Fantastic. They're going to love it here. That's what I would do, is try to just slowly find a couple of people that I can connect with, and then build out from there. Right. I think that's, if you think that you want to walk back into this room, I think that would be kind of your first objective, is to find maybe one or two people you can kind of connect with.
I think that's great. And the bow that I would tie up my advice for would be to focus on this two phrases that you said in your question. You said that you've been sharing little wins, and that with them you get bad and jealous vibes. And so my bow that I would tie this up with is that based on those two phraseologies that you use, I would say maybe conversationally, maybe as a friend, you need to think about giving more than you get.
Yeah.
It might be that you were trying to get praise or appreciation for how your career is going. I would say in life, one of the ways that you build friendships is by giving more than you get. And you should not be shopping at that store in terms of trying to get praise from other cartoonists for little wins that you've had. That's for family and loved ones to give you praise for. That's not for other cartoonists to give. Your job is to give, is to share, swap advice, talk shop, talk about pens, talk about artists that you love, talk about how much you love their work. If you give for a couple of months or years on end without asking anything in return, you will find the burgeonings of friendship, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a more satisfying way of going through life. You're not making demands of people.
Right.
One other final thing. Let's say that these people are being jerks and you've been a little sweet baby angel, and they're the ones being jerks. If that's the case, I will say that I have seen over the course of my career, people that are angry or are uncomfortable or are unfriendly or are not giving to other cartoonists, boy, it eventually bites them in the ass in their career. They either stop getting hired or other artists stop calling them, or they stop getting invited to this or that, or they don't get awards so much, or they don't get a book promotion from other cartoonists because other cartoonists can't stand them. And so it does bite them in the ass over time. So kindness and giving more than you get. And boy, do Brad and I fail on both fronts, but we try. And that's what I would say to you, is try to give more than you get. Brad, what's your final bow on this one?
I think that's great advice.
Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
Dave, we've got time for one more question, and it's one that I'm kind of fascinated by, and I want to get your thoughts on this. This comes in from somebody who says, hey, Brad and Dave, what salary can I expect as a full-time, self-published comic artist? The realistic average for someone in the field. So, Dave, what kind of salary could one expect as a full-time, self-published comic artist?
Well, okay, let's get a couple things out of the way definition-wise first. Salary is the wrong word you're going to want to use there. Yeah. Salary implies a company and implies a regular paycheck, and it implies a third party giving you money. If you are self-employed, kind of by definition, you're bringing in income, not a salary.
Yeah.
and you're bringing in a gross amount. And then from that, you have all your expenditures and all your expenses and all the things. And from that, after that's all said and done, after taxes and expenses are done, you then have your net for the year. And the net income is what you're probably asking, not salary, right, Brad?
Yeah. Salary, the main, and by the way, I know this gets a little bit into, kind of fine print here, but it's kind of important just in case we don't want any miscommunication. And the main difference here is a salary is kind of guaranteed for at least as long as you work for that company. Right. If you're a manager at a company, you're drawing a salary, they'd say, okay, you get paid, $75,000 a year. They meet that out in weekly or biweekly paychecks or monthly paychecks. But at the end of the year, a salary guarantees you a minimum amount of money, plus any bonuses or anything else that you might get. Self-employed comic artists do not get that. We get no guarantees.
Yes, there's no guarantee. Yeah.
In fact,
and it varies wildly, doesn't it, Brad?
Yes.
Year to year?
The strict answer to his question as worded, what salary can I expect, is zero. You can expect $0. That's all you can expect. Anything beyond that, you've got to build. So now let's talk about that. In other words, what kind of dollar amount can you expect? And if you've been listening,
before we go on though, can I just make one clarification? Because I'm thinking now back on our recent conversations, and one reason why they might be using the phrase salary is because when I was talking about my 2025, Brad, I did say, well, I made salary. And here's what that meant in my specific case.
Yeah.
I, Dave Kellett, have an S Corp. It's a specific way of creating a corporation in the United States. And my S Corp is Small Fish Studios. And Small Fish Studios has 2 employees. Well, technically 3 employees. Beth, my full-time assistant, and myself. And so one of the ways that I was trying to describe 2025 was like, well, I made Beth's salary, like, because she works for a company and she has a guarantee, as Brad said, of income. I do not, she does. Right. And so that's partially where I was using that phrase a couple weeks back, was like, we cleared that. And yes, I made money too, but I'm just saying, like, it wasn't a great 2025, right? Yeah. So that might be, I was thinking about it, Brad, where they got the idea of salary. Because yes, I do have a company, and yes, I do have an employee, and yes, she is guaranteed a salary. Yeah. And so in the context of talking about how 2025 wasn't necessarily stellar for me, that's probably where they got this phrase from, I'm thinking.
Could be. So that makes perfect sense.
But anyway, to get back to your point, because you were on the beginning of a steamroller, I saw.
So here's the deal. What this question asker actually wants to know is, how much money does the average self-employed full-time comic creator make? And if you've been listening to this show for any 5 minutes in a row over our 8-year run, you know that we're going to be 100% honest with you about that answer. And the answer is that number does not exist. There's no way, shape, or form that anybody can tell you, well, you can expect to make about X number of dollars, $20,000, $50,000. That number does not exist. In fact, when you're talking about this, you have to realize that it's such a drastic swing. It has nothing to do with the fact that these people are doing comic art and they're full-time. It actually has very little to do with it. There are factors outside of that can nudge somebody up or nudge somebody down. But the fact that you're doing this, it's not like you are a drywall installer. And for every hour of installing drywall, you can expect X amount of money. And so you can say that if I'm a full-time drywall installer, I can make this amount of money. That does not happen in the creative and performing arts. There's some variables that we can talk to you about, but in terms of a dollar amount, not only does that not exist, I would be very, very suspicious of anybody that tells you that it does exist.
Okay, this is great because I actually disagree with my friend, but I disagree in a way that's still going to be unhelpful to you. So I'm going to answer it in a different way. So Brad said this number doesn't exist, and I can't give you this number because it's not like a fixed cost or fixed hourly rate or a fixed, like, lawyerly, I'm going to charge you $300 an hour, and if I do more hours, I'll make more income. Yeah. he's right about that. But I will say, in an equally unhelpful way, there are numbers that I can give you, and there is a range I can give you, but the range is so vast and so nebulous that it's also going to be unhelpful. So here's what I'm going to say, okay? I know, and I've talked to them. This is how I know, and so you're going to have to trust me on this. I know cartoonists that work full-time and make first-year Midwest teacher salary. You know what I mean? Like, they're making $23,000 to $35,000 money. You know, like, not great. Like, it's really tough in any major city to make a living off of that, right? I also know cartoonists, not a lot, probably less than a handful, most likely less than 3, that make in the millions that are self-published, right? I know maybe 10 to 20 that make between $500,000 and $1 million. I know probably 30 that make between 75 and 200,000. I know a lot that make under 50,000. But here's how my answer is different than Brad's, but is also equally unhelpful. They all work real hard. They all put in 40 plus hours a week and create amazing comics. Some of which just commercially are more viable. Some of which are quieter, maybe more personal stories, or maybe just don't have the same zeitgeist catching moment. And so they don't earn as much money. Sometimes someone can have a so-so comic, but be brilliant at business, and they spin that into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sometimes you can have someone who arguably is producing the best comic made today. And I could say artistically, they are gorgeous. Everything they do is gorgeous. I'm so jealous of everything. But it's like they're all thumbs when it comes to business. Like, you couldn't ask for a bigger jackass in terms of making business decisions. Everything from signing away things that they shouldn't sign away, to not reading contracts, to going into products that they shouldn't, to not making books when they should make books, or making books when they shouldn't make books. Just like in terms of, like, Brad and I have seen it all. Just people that make half-assed decisions. And you're like, you're a brilliant cartoonist. How are you so bad at business? And so it's almost like, Brad, there's 2 hands on the rungs of the ladder. And someone could climb the ladder with really good art skills, but no business skills at all. Or they can sometimes climb it with so-so art skills and really good business skills. You know? I personally like to think that I'm so-so on both. I'm a so-so cartoonist and I'm so-so at business, and I make a good career out of it, you know? But I know that there are cartoonists that are far more brilliant than I am, both on the art side and both on the business side. But the range is so vast, and it's so hard to know from the outside sometimes until you really get them 4 drinks in and you start talking about their business. And then you find out. But here's the thing. Even me knowing which ones, I could write down a list for Brad and he'd go, yep. I could write that list down. It doesn't help Brad and I at all out to know, because it's not immediately transferable to our business or what we've done. I mean, some of it is. It's why we say keep your head on a swivel. But you both have to be a good enough artist, catch the zeitgeist right, and be good enough at business such that you can make more than $25,000 a year, more than $50,000, more than $100,000, more than $250,000 a year. And you can see where I'm going with this. But it's impossible for me to tell you that if you do these 10 things, your income will immediately shoot up. You know, we can point out, and we do on the show, things you can do with your Patreon, things we can do with your outreach to your readership, things you can do with your Kickstarter. Absolutely. But I guess what I'm saying is it's really unhelpful sometimes to look at the wide variety, Brad, of all the cartoonists that are out there and say, well, the range of $25,000 to $1 million doesn't help me at all. No, it doesn't. It doesn't help you at all, you know?
No, I had very much the same mental framework in mind as you did. Mine went more like do a good comic. You know, are you doing a good comic? Because then it's not only are you a good artist, it's are you a good writer? All of those things come into play there. Are you doing a good comic? That's the first one. And then the other one is, are you making smart business decisions? Are you a good business person? Are you learning how to be a good business person? And by the way, there's no, we talk a lot of business on this show. It's not complicated. If you got a contract that you're going to sign, get a lawyer to walk you through it. That's not complicated, but it's one of those things that separates the big, I don't want to say men from the boys, but it separates the
big
one group from another
dogs.
group.
Yeah.
When it comes down to signing that contract, right?
Brad's patriarchy showing through there.
Right,
I see you, Brad.
So, but I think are you doing a good comic? That's a big part of it, and also opens the door because what a good comic is can be different for any number of different artists, right? Are you doing a good comic? Well, for somebody that's doing a Marvel DC style action adventure, that means a certain level of art. If that means somebody who's doing New Yorker style gag cartoons, I often argue that those I almost think they try to make the art look worse. Like there's a real objective to not overdraw something if you're a New Yorker cartoonist, right? So
wow, damning blow, Brad.
Well, no. Oh, Christ, look through the New Yorker. I'm not saying anything mean. I'm just saying that they're not focused on getting the perspective right.
Yeah. I know. And also, some people lean into their styles, which is not a realism.
The art is not like, like John Romita Jr., but the execution is flawless. And those are two different things, right?
Right.
So do a good comic. I like having on one side of the equation because that can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people, a lot of different outreach. And then on the other side is business acumen, 100%. And then throw in for a little seasoning on top, something Dave mentioned that is absolutely worth talking about, and that is zeitgeist. Is what you're doing right now part of the zeitgeist, right? And we've both seen, Dave, people that we know if they were born 30 years earlier or 30 years later, they could have been amazing, but they're doing a thing that just isn't in the zeitgeist right now.
Let me give you an example. I can travel back in time right now, Brad, and I go to Dave Kellett in 1998, and 100%. I say, hey, instead of doing a comic strip about a little boy and his duck, hey, do a comic strip just about video games, playing video games. Here's the thing. Okay, great. Yeah. So I might have caught the zeitgeist more. I don't play enough video games. Right. I don't know that world. It's not what I do. It's not how I live my life. It would have been a really shitty comic strip about video games. You know what I mean? Like, it would not have caught the zeitgeist, even if the moment was right, even if the concept was right, because it's not who I am. It's not what I do.
But now, on the other side of that coin, take that same Dave Kellett and put him 20 years earlier into the syndicate system. That's a person who has a mansion by the time he's at the end of his life. If you had taken your skills and your newspaper
into 1972, Dave Kellett would have 3 houses.
100%. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because the time was different and it was a different format, a different structure, a different publishing landscape, and all of those things play into it. Right.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, but like Robert Crumb at Hallmark, a failure, arguably a failure. Right. Robert Crumb going up through this weird, new to the world San Francisco Haight-Ashbury comic scene suddenly becomes wealthy over time, you know? And so, wealthy within reason. I mean, let's not stretch it out. But anyway, he's made some bad decisions, let's put it that way. But you get where I'm going with this. Like Charles Schultz trying to work through Haight-Ashbury wouldn't have worked. Right,
Charles Schultz would not have worked as a web cartoonist.
No.
He would have failed. 100% Charles Schultz fails if he launches Peanuts in 1999 when you launched Sheldon. 100%.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I'll say yeah to that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But the point is that separate, as Brad said, from your skills, separate from your marketing ability, separate from your business decision, there's just the question of, are you in the right place at the right time? I can think of cartoonists right now, Brad, that if I could pluck them out of the ether and put them back 30 years or put them in a different comic scene or even put them in France or put them in the Japanese market. I'm just being serious.
No, you're right.
I'm being serious. That they would do amazing. They just happen to be born in America in the 80s or in the 90s. And they are of a specific age and a specific time, and they're just not going to catch the zeitgeist in the way that their art would have done 40 years ago or the like. You know?
And that doesn't mean that you're like destined or preordained or you're doomed, because we've also seen people in that situation, and not for nothing, I consider myself one of them. The Brad Geiger from 20 years ago, the Brad Geiger from 10 years ago, and today's Brad Geiger are three different cartoonists. And that didn't happen by accident. I saw very quickly that the thing that got me on the web was I saw the writing on the wall for newspaper comic strips. It was very clear in 2000 that was a sinking ship in terms of syndication. That's why I went to the web. By 2010, 2015, I saw this newspaper comic strip on the web that I was doing was not the right fit for me anymore. It wasn't working anymore. I had to switch. I had to switch to a graphic novel style. I had to improve my art skills. I had to do a different type of art. I had to do a different type of writing. And that evolution took a long time. It was painful, right? But it doesn't mean that if you find yourself, and those were two different times that I found myself not in the zeitgeist, and I had to evolve and adapt and become a different version of myself. So like all that stuff that Dave says is right, that with the zeitgeist, it's not a death sentence. It's not a death sentence. You can evolve. You can be a new version of yourself. Doesn't mean selling out or giving up or any of that stuff, but it does mean being honest with the man in the mirror or the person in the mirror when you have that conversation and you say, is this thing that I'm doing working? We had this came up very organically on the show, and I just listened to it, and I made one of our little comic lab memes about it because it was just a little rhetorical phrasing that fit perfect, and neither one of us reacted to it, and we just kept on going. But it was persistence doesn't mean continuing to do something that's not working, right? And we just said it, and yeah, that's right. Persistence does not mean that you continue to do something that's not working. And then I heard that, and I'm like, that's actually really good advice. Persistence doesn't mean you keep doing that thing that's not working. It means you persistently continue to grow and evolve and find new ways. That's how you deal with that zeitgeist problem.
Well, and to extend Brad's wonderful story about his own journey, I will just say that if you traveled back in time to 1998 when I was first putting Sheldon online and said, to hell with Sheldon, what you need to do is drive a long-form storyline told in page format, all in blue-gray, and drawn with spaceships and all the stuff that you currently don't know how to draw. Like, I could not have done it at 1998. I had to go on the journey that I was going to go on, and at the time, I neither wanted nor could tell a long-form story, didn't know how to do it, didn't know what the tools were involved, didn't know how to create characters that could last that long. I guess what I'm saying is, and by the way, I still don't think that Drive has found the zeitgeist. I think Drive's most successful moment will be when it's done as a story. Like, don't get me wrong, Drive does well for me as both a property and as an income source. I'm just saying, I think it will do much like Bone. I think it will find its greatest success when it's done. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think
people
you might be
like to know that a story's done. They don't want to start into 1,000 pages if the story's not done. We've all been burned by George R.R. Martin. You know what I mean? Like we have enough of this where an artist either dies or an artist doesn't finish a thing. We're like, I ain't starting that until it's done. And so I personally feel like Drive's going to have its true moment in the sun about 5 to 6 years from now when the story's done. Yeah. And so anyway, all that to say is, whenever we do this conversation, by the way, I always get an email from a cartoonist that or many cartoonists that you and I know. Yeah. And they always go like, there's nobody making $1 million. There's no one making $500,000. Yeah. And Brad, I don't think it's an accident that always comes in from the cartoonists that are all thumbs when it comes to business. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, it sure does.
They assume that because they're not doing it, that no one's making 500,000. That's no one's making $1 million.
If I can't do it, nobody can do it.
I can name you names right now, and Brad would go, yep, they're making $1 million. There are people, and sometimes it's just a matter of employee headcount. If you've got more than 5, I can tell you how they're doing. And sometimes it's just a matter of like eyeballing it from like, okay, they have X number of books out. Their last Kickstarter made $200,000. All right, I can tell you how much they're making, on an annual basis. And so it's always funny to me, the ones like, there's nobody making $500,000. That's impossible. There's no one doing that. I'm always like, you're just not good at business. You can't figure this shit out. And it's always the same 5 cartoonists. I'm always like, just sit out before you fall down. I can tell you who's making a lot.
And it might be people that have a too narrow a view of what comics is. right? Because listen, if you say there's nobody in comics making $1 million, if your head is screwed on a certain way, that makes sense. But then when you say, well, Raina Telgemeyer's a cartoonist, you know that person is doing very, very well and deservedly so, right?
Right.
Just based on the number of books that are being sold.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about folks that are published in terms of like being with a publisher. But yes, you're right. Raina, Dave Pilkey, there's a bunch of people. But yeah, I was talking about truly independent, run their own C Corp, S Corp, LLC, that kind of thing. I could name you a couple right off the bat when the show goes off the air, and you'd be like, yep. But what I'm saying here is that, but that's unhelpful to you because the most important thing you need to do at the beginning of your journey is make a good comic. Make something that you love and want to work on for day to day, month to month, year to year. And you will find your people. And in time, you will find an audience that will want to get a book from you or a T-shirt from you or original art from you. But it's both helpful and unhelpful to know that the range could be 20,000, could be $1 million. That's a big range. How does that help you? I don't know. I don't think it does. So it's the flip side of Brad's answer, which was, I can't give you a number because they're both unhelpful. You know what I mean? They're both unhelpful because that's not what you should be focused on.
And the only reason I'm letting you slide on that 20,000 is on a technicality, because every time you say 20,000, I get nervous because it's like you're making that the low end, the basement. Like you can expect at least 20,000.
Oh yeah, you could expect $1. By the way, you could expect negative.
That's my point. Yeah. You can expect zero. But
I see. Yes.
The only reason I'm letting you get away with that is because the question is for a full-time self-published cartoonist. So the assumption there is they're making at least enough money to pay their basic bills. They've quit their day job. They're a full-time. Right. And not full time, meaning you're unemployed. Your last unemployment check just came in and you're full time because you've got nothing else to do. Right.
Right.
That's
different.
Some very important guidelines and benchmarks to put around this.
Brad is making an excellent point that it actually could be a very big zero, big zero. Yeah. Or it could be even worse. It could be a negative. I've seen people that are like, I'm betting on my dream, Brad. Right. And I'm spending. I mean, we've seen this where like I'm spending $8,000 on this print run. You're like, no. You just started this thing. Don't spend $8,000 on a print run. And
don't spend anything on a print run.
Yeah, now they're -8 in a hole on that. Yeah. So it can be far below zero. We've seen that happen.
Yeah,
we've seen that happen. And but what both Brad and I are saying is the range is unhelpfully broad enough where could you have a solid gold car? Yeah, you could. Yeah. Mathematically, it's unlikely, but you could. But does that help you at all in your journey? Some people just like to know, is it possible? And I think that's what this person is asking. Don't you think that it's possible?
It's possible
to make a career
if you're at the right places on those two scales. Do a good comic and be a good business person. If you and again, like you said, you can be up a little on one, down a little bit on the other, and come out, but. That's for me. That's where your focus ought to be, not on what you can expect. My answer is very clear. I'll tell you what you can expect. You can expect zero. Everything after that is up to you.
Yeah, and just so you're not disappointed or not disappointed, just so you're not your enthusiasm is not killed by this, I will say. Here's the good news. You can get better at both of those scales with time, practice, and repetition.
Yeah.
You can become a better artist and you can become a better business person. You are not fixed in your path. Your feet are not cemented to where you are right now. Yeah. Brad and I are both infinitely better cartoonists and infinitely better business people than when we started. Don't you think, Brad?
Better writers. Better at everything.
Better looking, even though Brad's beard is kind of getting out of control with this winter.
I'm kind of enjoying this. This is the most beard I've ever had in my life, and I feel like a mountain man over here. And for anybody else, it's like a 5 o'clock shadow. But for me, it's mountain man territory.
This is. I'm going to tell you with love. This beard is very full at this moment. So. Mustache-wise, if I could separate out the beard from the mustache, do you guys remember during Trump's first term, he had this weird-looking lawyer named Ty Cobb that had this weird mustache? I want you to look him up.
Ty Cobb?
T-Y, and then the last name C-O-B-B. your your mustache at the edges, it's a little bit starting to tie cob, Brad. That's what you need to know. There's getting to be a little bit of a zhuzh at the corners. I need everybody to Google tie cob and then bring up a photo of Brad Geiger, and you're going to see what I'm talking about.
Can I be honest with you? I saw myself in the mirror this morning, and I said, because here's the deal. Ever since I'm not teaching college anymore, I was like, who am I shaving for? I used to shave once a month.
For your wife. My God, man, make an effort.
She knows what I look like. She knows what I look like. So, but it's like I would make myself presentable because I had to leave the house once a week, and then it would get, whatever. And now that I'm not that I'm not teaching, I'm like, screw it. Who cares? And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'd been letting it go too far. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm going to have to shave that down and trim it tomorrow when we do Comic Lab, or else Dave is really going to let me have it on the show. And then not thinking, I texted you today and I said, hey, would it work out better if you recorded the show today? And you said, yeah, that sounds fine. And we got, and I'm like, I should have shaved.
Okay. So let's make this fun for Patreon listeners.
Yes.
So here's what I'm going to ask something of you. We can take this out of the show if you don't want to do it. I want you to completely shave your beard, but keep the mustache. Just the mustache. Everything from the corners down.
I'm not doing that.
Oh, please. Just for a photo. Just for a photo.
Just like down to here? I just want to see the tie. No. Take everything off the chin and off the jawline. Yeah. Take everything off, even the I'm
chin.
not getting rid of that. Forget about it.
No, you have to, because I want to see how close you look to Ty Cobb. You don't believe me that this is looking Ty Cobbish.
That's what you got Photoshop for. I'm not getting rid of this at all. This I'm keeping. I'm not. I would look terrible the way you're just describing. And my hair. Do you not
look good if your chin is exposed? Do you suddenly look like?
No, I don't have a weak chin. I know that I would look bad in nothing but a mustache, and my hair grows so slowly, it would take months for me to look normal again. I'm not doing it.
What if it changes everything in the bedroom? What if she's like, hello, Mr. Mud? Is that Tom Selleck in my bedroom, or do my eyes deceive me?
I'm trying to
think of handsome guys with a mustache. What's a handsome guy with a mustache?
It's going to take more than facial hair.
Is that Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastards, or do my eyes deceive me? Is that President Trump's Ty Cobb lawyer, or do my eyes deceive me?
That is never going to happen. No, I could shave down this part, but I'm only going as far as that Van Dyke.
Well, I am sorry to everyone listening. It sounds like we're not going to get what we all deserve, which is a Ty Cobb lookalike contest from Brad Geiger. I tried, everyone. I tried.
Unfortunately, I've got no good transition. Wait a minute. Tell me again when you think Drive is going to really succeed.
For real? Okay.
Yeah, we don't. And by the way, we don't have to cut this, but I pride myself. I pride myself on my transitions. I had a great transition 10 minutes ago, and you wouldn't let me end the show. So now you're going to give me that line, and I'm going to do my transition, and the people listening are just going to have to deal with it.
In friendship, let me give this to you in the most natural way I can. Well, Brad, I feel like in about 5 to 6 years, Drive will be at its most successful.
When it's
done.
And I'm afraid we're done here on Comic Lab. You've been listening to Comic Lab. That was my transition, damn it. That was my transition.
And you now I see what you were doing. Yes, I didn't give you the completeness of the... Okay, yes.
Anyway, this is a show, or it used to be a show about making comics. Now it's a show about facial hair and making a living from comics.
Your hosts have been my friend, the lawyer Ty Cobb, the editor of webcomics.com, and the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com, and the co-host of the New Drawing Show over at wrongwayshow.com.
And my close personal friend, Dave Kellett, the co-director of the comics documentary Stripped, and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another handsome co-host along with our good friend Kevin McShane at The Drawing Show at wrongwayshow.com.
And the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net. And this episode and all episodes was edited by the ever wonderful, ever whimsical Matt Woodard of Woodstock Productions. over at www.woodsong.media. And Matt, by the way, has his beat on the handsome chart. Like,
Oh my
neither
God.
one of us are.
Yeah, forget about it. We're all a distant second to that guy. If you love Comic Lab, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up those podcast charts.
And Comic Lab is made possible by your support at patreon.com/Comic Lab. So I will go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/Brad's given up on looking attractive.
Oh, God, that happened about 30 years ago, too.
I will say, though, that this beard, actually, all joking aside, this beard actually does look really sharp on you.
It does.
Can I give you some friendly, loving male-to-male advice? I would trim this down a little bit and keep the front strong, and then just trim at the lip line. Like, keep the mustache full, but trim it at the lip line. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I was, give this a little bit more of a jawline here.
Give it a jawline, yeah, and then, but bring it a little shorter, a little tighter. Do you have a good beard shaver?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm due. I'm due for that.
Has it ever come out of the drawer, or is it?
I didn't realize you were setting me up.
Have we ever plugged it in? I mean, is that something that we know how to use? It's supposed to buzz. Have you heard it buzz?
It's got one of those pull chains like my lawnmower. It goes.
It's like a British toilet. It's just got this big chain hanging off of it.